call to order. There's one present, all five commissioners, four commissioners and the county judge are here, and all legal notices have been duly posted, and the court is duly called. How about this now? Motion to open court, so moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Available open court.
Please rise. Dallas County Commissioners Court is now in session for the June 2011 term with the Honorable Clay Lewis Jenkins presiding. Please remain standing for the invocation.
And our invocation today will be given by a guest of Commissioner Cantrell.
Judge and Commissioner, our guest today is Connie Jones. She's the Administrative Services Coordinator for the County Clerk's Office. Has been employed with Dallas County for 28 years. She's an active member of the Beth Eden Baptist Church, and she's been married to Connie Jones for 20 years. She obtained her master's degree in theological studies from Vision International University and her master's in business administration from Texas University. Connie, thank you.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioner. Before we begin, I'd like to start with the scripture, a description of mine. Proverbs 3, verse 6, it says, "In all thy ways to acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path." With that scripture in mind, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear gracious Master, Lord, we come before you on today. First of all, thanking you for your many blessings. We realize that all good and perfect gifts come from you. The Dallas County business is at hand. You have entrusted Judge Jenkins, Commissioners Dickey, Cantrell, Price, and Dr. Garcia with wisdom and knowledge to make the appropriate decisions that are presented to this Commissioners Court on today. As they seek you for the overall directions for Dallas County, my prayer is that your continual choice blessings rest upon each court member as you equip them individually and collectively with what is necessary in order to make the ultimate decisions that will benefit the citizens of Dallas County and others for years to come. In closing, I would like to ask a special blessing for those residents in surrounding states, Arizona, Alabama, Mississippi, and others that have been affected by devastating, unforeseen wildfires and floods. Lord, I'm asking for their safety, shield, and protection while they cling to hope as you strengthen, restore, and bless them with what they stand deeply in need of. These and other blessings we ask and claim in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Welcome to this meeting of the Dallas County Commissioners. We'll be considering items on our official agenda, then we'll recess for our informal work session, then we'll hear from registered speakers. The court will then convene in closed session to consider matters as allowed by law. There are two unusual things that I'd like for us to do today. The first one is I come bearing gifts. I brought t-shirts for our court. Let's see. Yeah. I got some old t-shirts. T-shirt. So I'll put my t-shirt on, so I'll put our t-shirts on. And I'll be using this Mavs noise maker. So y'all know why. This is just like a gallon. Because we haven't won a championship since 1999. Every day, the Dallas Dick's Sporting Goods, Macy's, and like 2 academies and stuff we can do. I don't want anybody to feel shortchanged, so they're a good t-shirt.
We beat the heat.
We beat the heat, y'all. All right. Let's see what we got here. Okay, we got 2 resolutions today, and the first is from Commissioner Price.
Judge and Commissioners, this morning we're very pleased that Dr. Kelly Wesley here. Thompson will come forward with Dr. Wesley. Whereas Dr. Kerry Wesley, a native of Camden, Arkansas, accepted his call to the ministry, preaching his first sermon at the age of 15. In 1984, he earned a BA at Bishop College and founded the Antioch Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church on the same campus in 1986. And whereas Dr. Kerry Don Wesley, who is the author, earned a Master of Divinity from Bright Divinity School at Texas Christian University, had the distinction of being the first African-American doctoral candidate at Phoenix Seminary in Arizona, where he received his doctorate of ministry, and where he's the president and CEO at Rivers of Grace Teaching Ministry. And whereas Dr. Kerry D. Wesley is married to Cheryl and is the father of Christopher, Carl, and Charles. And whereas Dr. Kerry Wesley and the Dallas County Health and Human Services carried out community efforts during an H1N1 influenza vaccine clinic held at Antioch Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church in December of 2009, as their space was offered at no cost to the county. And whereas playing a huge role in preparing children to return to school with the necessary immunizations, Antioch Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church again stepped forward and volunteered space at the Dallas County Health and Human Service Back to School Vaccine Clinic site in July 2010, and has agreed to serve as a site for the 2011 Back to School Clinic site, scheduled for July the 16th. And whereas a success which results from the collaboration of faith-based and public entity is evident in the affiliation between Dr. Kerry Don Wesley, the Antioch Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church, and Dallas County Health and Human Services. Now therefore be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby respectfully recognize and appreciate Dr. Kerry Don Wesley for his servitude and accomplishments within the Dallas County community, the Antioch Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church, and we congratulate them both as they celebrate 25 years of serving as a beacon of the community for the citizens of Dallas County.
All those in favor? Aye. Mr. Thompson?
Judge, I want to thank Dr. Wesley for what he has done. The church stepped up when we didn't have anywhere to set up our H1N1 clinic. As you realize, we had over 10,000 residents throughout Dallas County that needed to get H1N1 vaccine. Dr. Wesley and his staff, along with Dallas County Sheriff Department and Dallas County Security, really made it a successful H1N1 clinic that is modeled throughout the state. But also, we realized there are over 45,000 children in Dallas County that are going to need immunization in this upcoming school year. And Dr. Wesley and his staff have stepped up to offer their church again at no cost to Dallas County to ensure that our students are able to get immunized and back into school on time. So I just wanted to say thanks to Dr. Wesley, his church, his staff, and his commitment to the community.
Doctor, please.
Commissioner Tyson, to entire board, we are grateful that you have allowed the services to come to that section of Dallas County. One of the things we wanted to do was partner with the Dallas County Health Department so that we could reach out to those in the community, and we appreciate what you're doing, and we hope that we can continue to have this partnership for years to come.
Doctor, let me just say that if I can. First of all, thank you for a large, beautiful edifice with real access off of Interstate 20. People came from as far away as Saxon and Broadleggers, way up in Alberta County. I tried to put in my district, but they did. They came. We started. Your people were there. Maybe attended, as Mr. Thompson talked about, security, sheriff's department, third order, moved a number of people to there. In fact, we broke our records both times. We started at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you and your staff stayed until we finished that afternoon. And so I just appreciate it. This court is also embarking on another venture, and Dr. Wesley is continuing to try to be the model of outreach. We started H1N1, we moved to school immunization, and as you know, this court is now looking at what we call video visitation. One of the things that has happened, and we've seen throughout the system, just made all the difference in terms of just how our staff has been able to interrelate with not only people who are incarcerated, but family members. And in talking to your staff, should we begin that pilot, we're looking forward for that collaboration. Unfortunately, when we did that, we got calls from all over the community. Everybody wanted to join in and do it. We just could not physically do that. But we've had nothing but success at Antioch. And we just thank you for your leadership. Like I said, 25 years there. Easy access on and off for 20, and just happen to be in District 3. We've been from all over the county to be a part of it. Thank you so much for your leadership. And he continues to raise money annually. He's a part of the District 5, and they raise millions of dollars for Paul Queen and that community.
For Winty's service. Isn't that?
Did they put oil on him?
Good for you.
Thank you, Dr. Wesley.
And I've got the next resolution. I see my mother in the back. Hey, Mom. My mom in the back of the courtroom. Mom, there are seats over here. There's one by Tracy's mom right there, and there's one by Hector right in front of it if you want to sit down. If there's any other seniors or folks who are looking for seats, it looks like there's 2 or 3 over here. I can see them from up here. There's one over there. There's one there. There's several seats. So y'all feel free to take a seat or stand, whatever your preference. The next resolution is for me, and I want to honor today the Denton County Transportation Authority. Now, it may seem unusual that we've got the Dallas County judge sponsoring a resolution for Denton County, but Denton County has been a strong partner in transportation. Let me tell you just some of the things that Denton County has done just this year in transportation. Denton County Judge Mary Horn joined with the judges from Tarrant, Dallas, and Collin County in calling for and helping to oversee a review of NTTA. We're poised to do a complete top-down performance review, the first of its kind for that agency, beginning as early as next month. I think actually later today we have meetings with the people that we're negotiating with to get them the contract to do that. Furthermore, Denton County Commissioner Eads, as well as I'm leaving off one of the Denton County commissioners, but 2 of the Denton County commissioners and several other officials from Denton County were instrumental in us securing $756 million of transportation money out of the $856 million of the Prop 12 funds for our side of the county, Denton, Dallas, Collin side of the county. You know, in the past, we've had a disproportionate share go to the west portion of the county. And so we were able to, with one fell swoop, put that back to its historical equity. Yeah, we've got a formula of 31% for the west and 69% for the east. It's based on road miles and roads traveled. And through the work of our eastern counties, we were able to, in one fell swoop, bring that back in line where it had not been for years. Furthermore, and this is what the resolution is about today, Denton County is a serious partner in rail transportation as well. They are about to complete a rail project that will have benefits on folks who commute from Denton County to work in Dallas County. And let's not forget folks who live in Dallas County who commute to work or go to visit in Denton County. So with that in mind, now let me read this resolution. Whereas the voters in Denton County approved the creation of the Denton County Transportation Authority, the DCTA, in 2002, and within a year, the board approved a service plan that prioritized a regional rail system. And whereas, with such anticipation, on June 20th, 2011, the DCTA's A train will begin service in Denton County along a 21-mile corridor stretching from downtown Denton to Carrollton. And whereas the A train will connect to 5 locations within Denton County, including 3 stops in Louisville, 2 in Denton, the A train will also connect to the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Green Line, allowing passengers to seamlessly travel across the North Texas region. And whereas the rail expansion, which parallels I-35, is one of the most heavily congested roads in our region, this will help relieve traffic congestion, improve air quality, and it's an essential project for the North Central Texas Council of Governments Mobility 2030 plan. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the Dallas County Commissioners Court hereby recognizes the Denton County Transportation Authority for the launch of the A train and its importance to the regional transportation, and congratulates the DCTA for this milestone achievement. And I move for its adoption. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Can I have Charles Emery, who is the leader and force behind the DCTA, come and say a few words.
Judge and Commissioners, for the record, my name is Charles Emery. I'm chair of the Denton County Transportation Authority in Tampa, all 10 years of its life, and it seemed like a long 10 years. But let me just tell you a couple of things. First of all, I think our progress in Denton County really speaks to the success of our region, because this is truly just one piece of a regional system that we're all working toward, ultimately 451 miles of regional passenger rail. Secondly, I'd like to say and give credit to our partners, DART, which has been incredibly good to us, the Denton County Commissioners Court, obviously, and the RTC. And speaking of the RTC, it's been my pleasure for the last 8-9 years to work with 2 commissioners here, Commissioner Dickey and Commissioner Cantrell, and now you, Judge. So I just think this partnership is going to continue, and I look forward to being a part of the leadership and transportation in this region. We want to thank you so much for this resolution.
Charles, you put in a lot of years of service in transportation and across the region as well as at Cedar. You've been a force in the transportation community, and I appreciate all the time and effort that you put in it. You're well respected, and you're able to get a lot of things done, especially for the region. We thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Charles, if I may say, we had a lot of meetings brainstorming about issues that really affected our side of the Metroplex. And we worked together as partners for a long time. I thank you that you were always available for those meetings, and that multiplied. I know how much you have put into this, and I thank you for your community spirit and also for your Metroplex spirit that you care about everyone, not just them. That's been amazing.
Thank you so much, Judge. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I believe we have our consent agenda up. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We now have item 9 on the bids. Motion on the bids. So moved. Read the bids.
And I just have one small question, Judge. It's yes, I did second. That's a small question, and on the insurance bid, it come out to be includes terrorism fee. You know, it's covered, accepted, and this is the insurance contract. Excludes terrorism. And that's what we have. We took it as.
Historically, we have not included terrorism in it.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have quarters 10 through 29. We'll be pulling 11 for some further revision and documentation on that. So, do I have a
I move corridors 10 through 29, excluding corridor 11.
And I'll second that motion.
Any discussion on this before we pass it? All those in favor? Next, we'll have a meeting of the Dallas County Housing Finance Corporation. Is there a motion to continue this meeting? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? We'll now consider item 31B. Is there a motion?
Well, first of all, let me ask you to have Mr. Lester come forward so the record be real clear with regards to the publication for the Housing Finance Corporation and to lay out the B and the agenda before us.
I'd be happy to do that, Commissioner. Beginning in 1983, the Housing Finance Corporation issued 5 different series of single-family mortgage revenue bonds to help promote home ownership. That was at a time when interest rates were typically 11 to 13%. Beginning in the 1990s, the HFC activity began to decline, primarily as interest rates began to fall, and also a lot of the other local cities began creating their own HFCs. During the 90s, as the interest rates fell, we refunded a lot of these outstanding series. And in so doing, we produced a revenue stream that generated somewhere between $2 to $3 million over time for the county to use for various housing-related activities. We're at a point right now, we've used those historically to help fund the emergency rental assistance at HHS, down payment assistance program, and then also our replacement housing program. As for how federal funding for some of these activities has declined, we've used this source of revenue to help offset those revenue appropriation declines in other areas. The motion before you right now is to use $400,000 of this money to supplement the CDBG home funding for our replacement housing program that we operate roughly in about 6 or 7 of our smaller cities.
And Rick, so that we're to be real clear, none of this money is coming from general fund.
That is correct. That's correct.
Even though we had people comment that we use money from the general funds to appropriate for some of these activities. This money is always coming from this fund.
Correct.
Okay. And that being said, was this published in a way you did?
It wasn't necessary. All we had to do is publish it or give the public notice just as the Commissioners Court meets 72 hours advance notice, and we've done that.
Okay.
And this is money that is a one-time money.
That revenue source that we generated in the 90s was one time only, and it will not come back.
And as you mentioned, will be distributed in all those CDBG that qualify.
That's correct.
For this program.
Yes, ma'am.
With being said, Judge, Mr. President, sorry, if I can be recognized for a motion and consider the order approving the allocation.
As a member of the committee, I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion to recess? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we are back in session. Of course, now we can be in public session. We'll recess for open session. Consider matters to be voted on in a subsequent session. Mr. Martin.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. Item 1 is briefing agenda Health and Human Services. 1A, recommends authorizing a public hearing of the Dallas County Housing State Voucher Program Annual Public Housing Authority Plan on June 21st, 2011. During Commissioners Court, approve the annual plan for submission to the public. Item 1B, recommends approval of fiscal year 2011 Ryan White Part A formula funds to agencies as outlined in brief materials. 1C, recommends approval of the agreement with Baylor Medical Center and Garland for clinical experience, purchasing residents with District Public Health. 1D, recommend approval of the amendment of the Texas Department of State Health Services Contract Public Health Emergency Response. And 1E, that quarter of the formal agenda.
Mr. Martin and Mayor, I just want to say while we are in the Health and Human Services Department that I want to congratulate Mr. Thompson for the wonderful piece in Channel 4 last night on the Dallas Morning News article about how we're beating the heat. And I don't mean the Mavericks. I really mean the actual heat with 150 air conditioners for two families that qualify for the program. I know it doesn't sound like they are that many, but would you please just for the record explain some of the requirements to qualify for 150 air conditioners and what the department is doing?
Well, every year, thank you, Commissioner, every year, Dallas County Health and Human Services since 1998 has been faced with serious heat wave issues. In 1998, we had over 35 deaths in Dallas County. From that aspect, we've been working with the Meadows Foundation, which was the lead foundation to provide the air conditioning units at no cost to Dallas County. Dallas Foundation also contributed, so we have a number of foundations to support purchasing the AC units, and therefore our staff goes out every day and on the weekend and install those AC units to those individuals who do not have a working air conditioning unit, who are elderly or have some type of medical condition that would cause them some type of issue. So therefore, our staff and the Medical Foundation, the various foundations have been working each year for the last 13 years to make sure that individuals who don't have a working air conditioning unit, they can get one. I will make one point that I always want to keep clear on, is that we physically go out and visit each person who makes a call to our office to verify that they truly need the AC unit. So we don't take any information based on just a telephone call. We physically go out to make sure that they have no working AC.
Can you please, for the record, mention the number, the phone number?
Hotline number is 214-819-6001, 214-819-6001. I also mentioned that our number stays busy. We need to continue to call, but at the end of the day, if we really need something, that shouldn't be a challenge.
Thank you. We also partnered with the City of Dallas to beat the heat location. So I want people to know that if you have small children, any medical condition, please don't hesitate to go to Martin Luther King Center as well as the West Dallas Multipurpose Center. And last but not least, colleagues, I just want to mention that I'm very happy that Health and Human Services is doing a back-to-school fiesta in Irving Mall. It's going to be August 18 from 3 to 7 p.m. Just going back of how important it is not only to immunize your children, but be ready and on time. Avoid the long lines and, of course, avoid that the children will be late.
Well, there's 25,000 students that we expect need immunization, so the earlier they come in, the less people we have in front of our building tomorrow.
As a representative of Irving, I will be there. So thank you so much, Mr. Thompson, and of course, thank you to the Health and Human Services Department. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Moss.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Item 2, communication center service, director of schools, annual maintenance grant contract, and bill contract between participation in Texas Automated Midday Notification System. Item 3, IT, recommend approval of proposed purchase of new server hardware, software modification needed to improve the computer room space for the election department and HHS at a combined cost of $405,000. That will be funded from elections and technology fund.
And the time,
Timeline that in, I believe stuff has been ordered. It's been ordered, they're due in, and Rodney, believe will have construction done within, by August. By August, they told us we'll have it done.
so it'll be in.
It'll be in before the next Canadian election, correct?
And it will be, our staff will be trained, we expect by August, everything to be taken care of. That's
I have trained, not getting it taken equipment.
Put it installed.
But also, we have to be ready that we have the staff and personnel to run this work. Thank you.
Item 4, Public Works, 4A, in conjunction with the tax office of Lineberg, Gardner, Blair, and Sampson. Public Works recommends approval of expansion of the tax proposal resale program, including formation of the maintenance team, and authorize execution of ILA between the county and anticipated jurisdiction of the county's tax foreclosure. Item 4B, recommends $2 million in funding for the Beltline Road Bridge over the Trinity River repair work, and allocate $1 million for fiscal year 2012, Mason Road Bridge over Cotton Creek, and the Parkinson Road Bridge over 10 Mile Creek repair work, utilizing money set aside for the county's annual WasteSat program. And 4C, that program is on the formal agenda. Item 5, Planning and Development, recommends approval of proposed revisions to the county's TIP policy. There's still ongoing discussion on this TIP policy. We'll be bringing that forward at a later date, but I believe Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Price, and I believe Commissioner Cantrell has additional action if you want to work on this.
Yes, and I want to thank Mr. Westbrook for his work, and of course for working with different groups that are interested in this solution, and of course my colleagues. And we're trying to mirror and be more progressive in in helping those developments that will increase our tax base. We're going to try that, and we're having some meetings with the City of Dallas, State Department. So thank you again, Mr. Roscoe, and thank you for everyone that has been their input into the process.
Item 6, public comment.
This isn't going to be brought up for court the next week.
No. Just further discussion.
No, it will be postponed until.
And there are major changes to what we do before. Item 6, public defender, recommend approval of the MOA, Protection Suspended Reentry Program for Legal Services for former offenders seeking reentry to society. Item 7, budget, 7A, conference travel training request. We have hiring freeze exception for the tax office, the DA's office, county clerk, and district court administration. And your fiscal year 2012 budget update will be at 1:30 this afternoon. Judge, if there are no questions or information, performance, or when you have 26 speakers listed today.
The court will now hear from our registered speakers. Bailiff, will you please read the instructions for our speakers?
All Commissioners Court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are preserved order of decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all applause is to be kept brief in observance of time constraints. Disruptive visitors and or registered speakers may be removed and are subject to the penalties provided in the State of Texas Penal Code, Sections 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the maximum discussion on any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
All right, and our first speaker today, by the way, the 3 minutes does apply, but as you will remember, we have suspended the rules as to redistricting, as we still have redistricting to do. More than 10 of you can speak on that matter. I see more than 10 of you on that. Our first speaker today, we're going to go out of order on this one because she served this county on this court. And our first speaker today is former Commissioner Nancy Judy. So, Commissioner, please come forward. And Commissioner, I bet I don't have to tell you this, but remember to state your name and address if you oversee.
I'm Commissioner Nancy Judy. I live at 9401 Shady Valley Drive, Dallas, 75238. Judge, commissioners, are all present here today. I come before you having served as Commissioner of District 2, my beloved district, for 16 years. And I participated, I had the authority to participate in the redistricting of this county, both in the 1980s and the 1990s, in a peaceful, orderly manner. And so I come to you this morning to discuss the plan that you adopted a week ago, which in my opinion reduces our county to a shambles and a very long term and a destructive and disorderly manner. As a product of this, Commissioner Cantrell, my commissioner, was accused of consorting with Commissioner Price to swap districts so that he inherited the area that District 1 now has, and Commissioners Dickey would inherit his district. And also, there was the implication that if that occurred, if the courts upheld that commissioners, the constituents of District 1 would be burdened by the presence of Commissioner Cantrell as their commissioner. And may I say, to the contrary, to have Commissioner Cantrell would be to their advantage a distinctive asset. And may I go into some depth as to the reason I say this. Commissioner Cantrell is a former he is a former police officer. He is an attorney. He served as a municipal judge. He served as a justice of the peace for 8 years. He has served us now as a commissioner for 11 years. He has served as the president of our Council of Governments, and he is currently serving as the chairman of our Council of Urban Counties. He has had the local perspective, the district perspective, and the input from urban counties throughout the state. As a person, as his personality, he is a quiet person. He has worked hard, not only for our district, but the entire county. He is effective. He is respected. I am very proud to say that my commissioner is Commissioner Cantrell. May I also remind you that he was the only person to vote no on both Plan A and Plan A as amended. It is my hope that we will all, everyone here today, work for open and fair government so that we may continue to serve peacefully. Amen.
Commissioner Judy.
Aye, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Well, let me just say, having been around here some of those years and having been here as you weaned off your service and served with you, I appreciate your service. I say I was one of those individuals who sat here quiet for the last 27 years. As a partially quiet, positive quiet. Yes, I made a bull of it. Commissioner did the other once. But nonetheless, my position is that, first of all, it's not the first time this court has renumbered districts. I think that there was a case with the court wherein even on J.P. Constable, which renumbered districts. I think District 1 used to be downtown in the government center, and I think there was a judge by the name of Freeman and a judge by the name of Sircom. We're in District 1. Cried very loudly as we took in place that one in District 3 and one just kind of went away. You know, in terms of Robert's Rules of Order, that there's always an opportunity when there is a presentation before the court for it to be amended, a substitute rather. And that's no different. I just want to say that we adopted the criteria. We stuck with that criteria. But for the fact that the people of the new District 1 should have to wait to 2014, given the announced retirement of my colleague, Commissioner Dickey. They was the only people that did not have to would have had a representative on this court that would not have been elected by designating the Republican-leaning North Dallas District Precinct 2. What has happened is that now everyone on the court will vote for re-election except for the people in the new District 1. I just appreciate the fact that I follow the same model for the most part that Republicans did when they were charged the court. And I'll have a lot more to say, but I think that under Section 2 and Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, this is their plan. Those maps were just published for the visually impaired. Apparently, there are people who couldn't read the map. And I just want you to understand that we published 3 hearings, and put it on our website. We had 3 hearings. We were here doing a court session. We were here doing a 7 o'clock evening Tuesday session. We were also here on a Saturday morning session. And all of the commissioners were physically present. And the other list of those individuals. I just appreciate you coming down and as someone who has some of the history of redistricting and understanding how the process works. I think it was a congressman named Burgess who continues, and I pulled a lot of his testimony, talks about the miracles of redistricting. I think that's what they call it at the state level. And so the county level, I'm just calling it the miracles of redistricting. Thank you.
Judge, may I make a comment? These maps here certainly do not display the first time we have changed districts. Over the many years in Dallas County, these districts have been changed. The issue is that new district map last week at court when we voted, and Commissioner Price made the motion to pass redistricting the boundaries of our districts, didn't state which map. And suddenly, new maps were passed out that switched one district from another. I had never seen this map. And so what you saw from myself was a display of indignation that the maps had suddenly been switched. Now, the issues are several. One is, no one had ever told me that those maps had been switched. That was the reason for my indignation. Another issue is that this court could have been up front and told me that they had decided to do that and made me now the commissioner for District 2 and to make that switch. I don't have to vote. I am 1 out of 5 votes on this court. This could have been done in an upfront manner. But instead, a decision was made by someone to sneak the new map in, which I had never seen. Now, not only had I never seen the map, but the people that came to the 3 public hearings were shown the old map. And this was the map that was called Proposed Map A. Proposed Map A was the map that we had seen for months. That at the beginning of the redistricting process, we were shown and had agreed this would be the map.
No.
This was the map that was shown to the public in the 3 public hearings that we had. And so it's problematic that the map that was shown to me at the 11th hour, that I had no chance to comment on, nor did I know about it, and the map that the public hearings was presented with was a map that was evidently never intended to be adopted. I have had a real problem with that. I don't like surprises. If I lose by a vote, and I obviously don't have the vote, that's one thing. But to sneak something in is simply another thing. So I think this is problematic. Now, the final problem is this. When you switch districts, the question is, you are switching to the election cycle in that district. Everyone in District 1, which is my former district, I guess, everyone in my district expected to vote for their representative in 2012. That's when I was out, and of course I've announced that I will not be running. However, a number of people want to run for that, and so the people who reside in District 1 have the right to vote for their representative. But instead, because the election cycles were switched, without anyone's knowledge, except perhaps people on the court who didn't talk to me, that means that their election cycle was switched. So the issue becomes, does the election cycle go with the representative, with the commissioner, or does the election cycle go with the voter who is being represented? Now, for that, on that issue, the people in District 1, if the election cycle goes with the commissioner who was switched, those people will not have had a chance to vote for 6 years. Let me explain. In 2008, I was voted to be county commissioner for District 1. I'm up in 2012. But instead, when these districts were switched, these voters will not be able to vote for their representative, and certainly they could vote for Mr. Cantrell or anyone else, but they will not be able to vote in 2012. They will have to wait 2 more years. Now, in my opinion, and I think the opinion of many others, and I've written a letter today in the Dallas Morning News stating these issues. In my opinion, the remedy for this is that when we redistrict and when we change or switch districts, 2 or more districts, we need to have an election after that so that people can choose who their representative is. I understand that there has been a constitutional amendment filed last Friday for this, and I think this will certainly help representation in this county and in other counties in Texas. I know it's an inconvenience to commissioners. Over 500 of them ran for 4 more years, and they'll have to run again. But if you weigh the scales of justice, is the inconvenience of those commissioners trumped by the representation for the voter? And you can answer that question for yourself. Thank you.
Any other comments from anyone? And Commissioner, I toured the museum yesterday and saw one of the early campaign signs or handouts there. So thanks so much for your service.
I have been here for 16 years. It's nice to be back.
Well, you were in the Dallas. All right, our next speaker is Ms. Carol Hightower. Carol Hightower here today. Carol Hightower. All right, and our next speaker is Mr. Jeff Turner. Mr. Jeff Turner. Happy Flag Day, Mr. Turner.
It is Flag Day. My name is Jeff Turner, 5950 Berkshire Lane, Dallas 75225. This flag was draped over the coffin of a friend of mine, now buried at VFW National Cemetery. Tony died in January of this year at age 52, about the same time certain commissioners conspired to ruin, without cause, Bruce Sherbert's career and reputation. I first met Tony over 10 years ago as he was panhandling on the streets of Dallas. He had been an alcoholic and addict since age 14. He was African American. Now that point is not relevant, but I point that out only because certain commissioners seem to judge others by no criteria other than race, and so I thought they would want to know that bit of information. By the grace of God.
Mr. Turner, I'm going to give you a warning. China County, it's your time. You can't attack people on the court with personal remarks or personal attacks. That's something that the bailiff read you. So please, you're an attorney. I know you know how to do this. Make your arguments without personal attacks. Thank you, sir.
By the grace of God, after several years of friendship with me, Tony became sober and clean. He celebrated his 2nd birthday of sobriety just last October. I was very proud of him, and I told him so. He was able to move into an apartment in the Lake Highlands area. When I received a telephone call that fateful day from his apartment manager, I immediately left my office. 2 police officers were there waiting outside for the medical examiner. When they arrived and opened his 2nd-floor apartment, the stench from his 4-day-old decaying body was so overwhelming that neither the officers nor I standing on the ground below could stand near the stairs. But I tell you, the odor emanating from the dead body of my friend was sweet compared to the stench and putrid odor coming from the corrupt and decaying body politic.
All right. You're done, sir. You may take your seat. And our next speaker is, my pages are correct, it's Mr. Wade Emmert. Mr. Emmert is now chair of the Republican Party. And Wade, you know that your name and address.
Yeah, Wade Emmert, 803 Tangleway Court, Cedarville, Texas. Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. My name is Wade Emmert. I am the chairman of the Dallas County Republican Party, and I'm here today to talk about redistricting. I'm not here to complain about redistricting lines, redistricting boundaries. Instead, I'm here to address you about what I perceive as a lack of transparency on this court and the underhanded way that this new redistricting map was published. I think most people understand.
Let me caution you on underhanded. I know you also are an attorney, so you know how to address the court. Please do not attack the court for being underhanded, but please do make your points.
I think most people understand that the redistricting process is inherently political. And every decade, whenever the maps are redrawn, there's always going to be one party unhappy with the map and another party happy with the map. That's the process we have. But this is something different. This is a lack of transparency on this court. Judge, when we were on the campaign trail, you and I both answered questions about transparency. We both were advocates for transparency. And I think publishing videos online is great. I think policies are great. But when decisions are still made behind closed doors, that transparency is no transparency at all. A government becomes transparent when it stops trying to hide things from its citizens it represents. A government is transparent when it has meaningful and thoughtful deliberations in public, open for public feedback and comment, and when it reaches decisions in public. But that's not what this county received with Bruce Sherbet, and that's not what this county received last week when this new map was passed. During this redistricting process, I believe this court was engaged in a charade where we had meetings over other maps, when from the very beginning this court knew that they were going to switch the commissioners in District 1 and District 2. That is not transparent government. That is not open government. Just minutes before the final vote, Commissioner Price produced the map and claimed that no one had seen it. I suspect, Judge, you had seen it, and I suspect that you had given your approval to have it voted on Tuesday. Seeing the map right before the vote is not transparency. It is not open government. The fact that you already had the map printed and already compiled all the demographic data on the precinct shows that this was not a spur-of-the-moment decision. This new map, which switched District 1 and 2, had been worked on for some time. And at least your and Commissioner Price had knowledge about it. And at not a single time were the citizens allowed to speak or comment on the new map with the districts switched. That is not transparent government. That is not open government. The result is that you've effectively denied many people in the new District 2 the right to vote. More than half of the people in Commissioner Cantrell's new District 2 had previously been in Commissioner Dickey's old District 1. They were expecting to go in 2012 and didn't get that chance. You had the opportunity to change that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me talk to you. For a few decades, I recognize that people do substitute orders all the time. Over 600 precincts, 15 precincts were changed. 15 of the precincts were changed. Of those, 8 of them testified at the Saturday morning hearing. So that only left 7 precincts that were changed. The precinct where Commissioner Dickey lived was affirmed by her that I could place that in the district. She is, or at that, well, she still is, the commissioner for Precinct 1. You talk about 50% of the people in the new District 2 having them. Same is true in Districts 3, parts of District 4. Sunnyvale, not in my district. Cedar Hill is not in my district. Duncanville is not in my district. Mesquite is not in my district. And so percentage-wise, now, the only thing that, I would have loved to have done, I would have loved to take it and substituted, Sunnyvale for Highland Park and University Park, since I needed that population to kind of balance out. And still not really opposed to that. But nonetheless, you understand how redistricting is done. You've done it yourself. But people do substitute orders all the time, and it's no different than what's happening on the state level or the other place across this country.
Sure. Would you about to make a comment?
No.
Well, if I may make a comment regarding Commissioner Price's commentary. First of all, a substitute order does happen, but it always has to be properly posted. A substitute order that is substituted at the last moment when the court isn't even privy to it. And if you recall, there were 3 members of the court that said they had never seen this map. So this is hardly the way to do a substitute order. Second and last point that I will make is getting into personalities, myself, other commissioners, or where we live. This it trivializes the fact that the process was aborted, the process was skewed. This is no, and saying that it's just a few precincts, that's kind of like saying I'm just a little bit pregnant, or, you know, I stole under $100. The fact is, the process was skewed, it wasn't upfront and honest, and let's don't lose our focus on the point.
Anyone else? I'd like to say something on that point. I agree with Commissioner Wood. Let's not get into personalities. We've had 2 attorneys address this so far, both of whom have, one of whom has just clearly disregarded the rules, and one of them got pretty close. I see on our list that we've got people who are frequent public speakers here. You know the rules. Emotions are high. Some of you got what you wanted. Some of you didn't get what you wanted. I get that. But let's try to stick with the rules. If you want to have a rally and say things that are personal about any commissioner, whether that be any of the 4 commissioners, the appropriate place is at a political rally. It is not in the body of this court. So please follow our rules of decorum here, and don't force me to use my gavel to sit you down. And I certainly don't mean that towards any one of you. That is a broad statement to all speakers. Our next speaker is Mr. William Lovell. Mr. Lovell, come on up. You know who he is. Or you want to state your name?
I'm the Reverend William Lovell. I live at 14527 Meandering Way in Dallas, 75254. Your Honor, I'd like to thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. My remarks will be very brief, just 2 points. First, I am not a politician. I am a pastor. The concerns which bring me before you this morning are about integrity, transparency, and fair dealing, not about which political party is in charge. It's specifically in regard to integrity, transparency, and fair dealing that the recent redistricting process has been such a huge disappointment. The introduction at the very last minute of a previously unknown and therefore unevaluated map with the district precinct lines being unknown to many of the court, with clear implications for the political makeup of this court, was very unsettling to us. Taken in conjunction with what happened to Bruce McPherson a few months ago, many of us are left with a nagging and frankly a growing concern that there's political agendas at work, specifically and hidden. And some of us will say that redistricting is always that way. But I've got to say, all you have to do is look across town to the way the city is conducting the redistricting process to see a process that is intentionally more transparent, more honest up front. And I know that's a value of this court, and it's very much my hope that we can reclaim that value going forward. Second, I'd like to say just a few words to Commissioner Maureen Dickey. Last week's meeting was tough for you and for many of us. I felt for you as I saw the meeting unfold. Critics may say whatever they want to say, but I, for one, will say that all you did last Tuesday was give voice to what many, many people in your district and all across Dallas County feel. And I sincerely appreciate your willingness to speak up, to speak the truth. And I personally would count it a great kindness, and many of us would count it a great kindness if you would reconsider your decision about not running and rethink the possibility that you might be able to continue to contribute to the work of this court. I thank you for what you said last week. In my book, you're a hero for saying it, and I really mean it when I say I pray for this court, each one of you. I pray for you, and that God may bless Dallas County.
All right, our next speaker is Miss Debbie Georgiatos. Ms. Georgiatos, make sure to state your name and address.
Sure will. Thank you for saying my last name correctly. I'm Debbie Georgiatos. It's Georgatos. I live at 6531 Wagner Drive in Dallas, 75230. I live in current District 1, the district that will become District 2 if the map passed by the court last week stands. The vast majority of District 1 residents, which is the current district represented by Maureen Dickey, I feel have been effectively disenfranchised by the court's random renumbering because they last voted for a representative in the Commissioners Court in 2008 and now won't be able to do so again until 2014. And I know while the redrawing of lines once every decade inevitably will cause some voters to fall into that circumstance of being disenfranchised, this wholesale swap effectively disenfranchises the only clearly solid Republican majority district. And that particular switching of Districts 1 and 2, carried out as it was last week by a last-minute introduction of the map that hadn't been released prior to that day, the day it was passed, that even some of the commissioners hadn't seen, raises questions about the entire process I think that the Commissioners Court had committed to follow, and certainly raises questions about its commitment to transparency. While other changes in district lines occurred that due to requests by constituents or for the purpose of bringing the map into hopeful compliance with the Voting Rights Act, this wholesale swap seemed to be made with no apparent reason other than kind of a political calculation that the court could inflict this disenfranchisement on the one solidly Republican majority district. I think actions like that send a signal to businesses looking to relocate to Dallas and really to fellow Texans about Dallas County with the question whether the Commissioner's Court plays by the rules. It puts a commissioner in place in District 1 who representing the majority of that district who wasn't really ever voted on by a majority of the voters in that district. I also just urge the court, just a thought about the future, is that the court, I would request you to consider the idea that no voter is locked in to any particular party or to any elected commissioner forever. I think that pulling things like this wholesale swap of the districts and passing a map introduced very last minute with no time for comment by any responsible citizen who was watching the process, it sends a signal of sneaky practices, bad government, something like that, and voters of all backgrounds, I don't think, like that. So I would strongly urge the court to reconsider swapping back District 1 and District 2 and using the number you had over the last decade. Thank you.
I'd like to make, no, comment.
You want to make comment?
I'm going to comment. I'll leave you.
Oh, sit down? Okay.
Let me just say that. And I will publish, one of the things we did is we, in running those numbers, this court could have put forward 4 Democratic districts. The numbers are there. We could have put forth 4 Democratic districts. This court recognized that there should be at least 1 Republican on this court. If you'd like to see those numbers, we don't have any problem showing them to you, or I don't know if the rest of the court is wrong, but I'm wrong. But we recognize that we could have put forth 4 Democratic districts. So when we redrew this, and the Republican Party seems to be in opposition to the only Republican on the court, was not seeking re-election. And so you don't mind disenfranchising those individuals in the new district who haven't had any opportunity to elect someone to be on the school. But you're very concerned about what is perceived as 50% of the people in the new District 2 that's being disenfranchised. I just want the record to be real clear that it was possible to draw 4 Democratic districts in this county, given the number, given the voting age population, given the demographics.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And I want to put it on the record, this court also had the opportunity to have 2 Republican districts. My map was not able to come out because the support was not there. But we could have drawn District 2 as a 50.1% Democratic district, minority opportunity district, and this court could have continued with that representation and understanding. I've had an opportunity to go and look at the Supreme Court cases as well as the local appellate courts, the Sixth Court of Appeals, the Fifth Court of Appeals, and there is some distinctions between how they rule on particular cases. But looking at the Bartlett case in the Supreme Court, when we first started this thing off, it was mandated based on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. But what ultimately came forward was, as I was trying to protect my District 2 as it was constituted at that time, was to have a district that was trendy Democrat, but without support for that. It was a political will of this court. As a matter of fact, 4-1, with my vote being the only one that was willing to go ahead and go to a minority opportunity district and keep only one Republican district in Dallas County. I voted against that. I did not support that coming out. I did not support that map when it was voted on in the public hearing, the very first public hearing, because we had an opportunity to maintain District 2 in its current configuration, adding in some of the East Dallas areas as well as Balch Springs. That was not the will of this court, and clearly in Bartlett, the Supreme Court case out of Bartlett, it does state that the political will of the court, of the governing body, will dictate how that's done. But I just wanted to put on the record that was the map that I supported that did not have the support of any member on this court to come forward.
If I may, a comment since
Let's let her make the next comment. Yes.
Okay, since Commissioner Price has already made one, did you have a comment?
No, I mean, I was just wondering, does it feel better just to make comments at the very end?
If I may make a comment, Commissioner Cantrell is correct. I didn't cast a vote last week, and I walked out of the court because I refused to participate in an unfair and sneaky process. Commissioner Cantrell is right. The will of this court could have been upheld. I'll tell you something. This court has a vote, and they could have cut my district, the district that I represent, District 1, up in little pieces if they wanted to. And I might have yelled like a stuck pig, and we would have had public comments about it, and there would have been comment about it, and perhaps, in an ideal world, this court would have considered some of those comments. That didn't happen. What happened was that this court, or some members of it, chose to substitute a map at the 11th hour, not the map that I or the public had already seen. So let's don't lose our focus on that. Now, what you're hearing is kind of a skewed argument. You're hearing an argument that, it could have been so much worse. It could have been 2 weaker Republican districts up there, and then they wouldn't be as strong. Or it could have been 4 Democrat districts, and wouldn't that have been awful? But let's look at what happened. There was a Republican district. It was the will of this court to have a smaller District 2. That's what happened. That was the will of this court. But what was not the will of the people or the understanding that was published in this court was the new map, was the switch. And that in no way plays into the decisions that have been made for public hearings, to you, the public, to me as a commissioner, to 2 other commissioners who said last week they'd never seen this map. So let's not fall for the argument that it could have been so much worse. Let's talk about what was and what happened, and not lose our focus.
Justify.
I think you were next. Okay, go ahead.
Commissioner Dickey, I wasn't talking about last Tuesday. I'm talking about the very first public hearing. As a matter of fact, you said, they could have cut up your district into little pieces. Well, that's exactly what happened to my Republican district in Garland. If you look at Garland, Garland was put into 3 separate commissioners' districts. I was placed outside of my district, and you supported that number. You supported that map. It was a 4-1 vote in the public hearing in this court. So you can act like that vote never took place, or that you never supported that map with the 3 Democrats. That's fine. But ultimately, that's exactly what took place. At no point did I ever have any support for keeping my district the way it was. It was cut up into thousands of little pieces. But I just want to get that on tape.
And 2 second rebuttal to that. And that is, Commissioner, if you don't stand up for where your home is and for your district, why do you expect me to?
Well, I stood up for it, but when it's a 4-1 vote and you don't even have the support of the other Republican on the court, that makes it a little bit more difficult, doesn't it?
Did you ever call me or talk to me about this? Just answer that. Have I ever heard from you on this issue?
I will recommend that we speak at the very end after everyone has spoken.
Well, the motion's behind. I know people want to speak as things come up. If it's the will of this body for everyone to speak at the end, we would do that. Otherwise, as long as we can keep it civil, I'll let y'all keep going the way we're going.
Judge, I do think that some of the speakers engender comments.
I think they do.
It's probably more professional and thoughtful to the speakers if we can comment if there are.
And I will join with Commissioner Dickey in that and just making sure that everyone has a chance to be heard with respect to Commissioner Garcia's comments. I think I do agree with Commissioner Garcia on this. We need to keep this as civil as possible, and I commend those of you for doing that. I want to single out and commend Ms. Georgatos. Did I said it right, Georgatos?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I noticed you did a couple of things that I like and that will make all of our jobs here easier. She wrote down her comments, her arguments, although I did, frankly, I'm on the other side of that argument. I don't agree with what she said, but she said her arguments in a clear and articulate way, and she followed the rules of this court. I'm disappointed that we've had others who've been unable to do that, but I want to commend those who come here in the spirit of good government and wanted to make their point, and I appreciate that. I hope others will follow her lead in doing that when they want to speak to this court. I will, in the spirit of openness, let y'all in on my mindset, man. I think I see my political advisors, they're cringing as I do this, but here's where we were. It is theoretically possible, Commissioner Price is correct, it's theoretically possible to draw 4 Democratic districts. It's incredibly difficult to do so because of the Voting Rights Act and retrogression in the districts, but it could have been done. I think the reason that I leaned against doing that is we do have a sizable Republican minority voice here in Dallas County, and they deserve to have representation on this board. It is far more likely, and I would say equally as easy to do, to draw 2 Republican districts. Reason for that is Commissioner Price's district is about 70% Democrat, so when you start with that one, you can't retrogress that one. Retrogress means you move Democrats out too much. It leaves you ample votes to do that. I leaned against doing that, although I will tell you early on it would have been difficult to get my vote to do that. I'm not sure if that could have been done, but we never had that discussion. The court did coalesce around the idea on our first meeting, or at least all the ones did, coalesce around the idea at our first meeting of building one strong Republican district. And although the numbers are something that we are in strong disagreement about, as I've been hearing from you and heard last week, the boundaries of those districts are things that we were able to agree, or at least 3 out of the 4 of us were able to agree on almost completely. 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 of us, I can't count today. 4 out of 5 of us were able to agree on almost completely. But we want to hear from all of you about this process, and also anyone who wants to visit about JPs and constables that we'll be voting on hopefully soon. Let's keep that civil, and then we'll move on to the business of the budget and the other things that are facing folks. Our next speaker is Ms. Lorraine Bierabel. your address, please.
My name is Lorraine Garabell. I am a Dallas County resident. I live at 7127 Larkin Drive, Dallas, Texas, zip code 75227. First of all, obviously there are lots of different views on the subject, but in my view, I truly appreciate how this court has been fair in the redistricting process as compared to what has been going on at the state level in Austin. There has been several hearings on the maps. The maps look virtually the same. I think that it's important that people who have concerns about the maps have showed up at one of several hearings that were on the matter. And the people who attended those hearings, their concerns were heard and the maps were drawn accordingly. The other thing that I think is important to realize is I feel that the map is fair to both Democrats and Republicans alike. As it was previously stated, the Democrats could have drawn 4 districts. The court decided not to do that. I think it's an extremely fair decision on the part of the court to approve a map that does allow the Republican Party to have a voice on this court, as there are Republicans in our county. And with that being said, I think it's also important to realize that the new district that's being drawn is also a mirror. It is a reflection of the demographics that make up our county as a whole. And so by having a representation from the opposing party, as well as having the new district reflect the demographic numbers for the entire county, I think that shows how fair this process has actually been. Also, I think it's important, and I believe this was also previously stated, that the people in the new district have an opportunity to elect someone of their choice. It is extremely unfair to those residents that they are not allowed to elect someone who represents them for the next 4 years. And so I would call that a disenfranchisement. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say.
Looks like from your address you live in the new district.
Yes, I do.
Next speaker is Ms. Erica Cole.
Hi, my name is Erica Cole. I live at 9246 Forest Hills in Dallas, 75218. I've never spoken in front of a group of people before, but I was watching television last week, and what I heard was different than my experience. As far as I was very interested in I was born in Dallas. I've lived here all my life. I've seen the redistricting, and somebody's always uncomfortable. I knew redistricting was really important, so I watched the county website for information on my community, and so I could put the input. I was very concerned. I saw in the newspaper, I saw at the library, I saw it on the website about the meetings, the redistricting meetings. I attended one of them, and I was very pleased with the input that I was being able to give to the county. So I just wanted to thank the Commissioners Court, thank you to the county for making my experience part of in sharing. And that's all I want to say is I just saw this as a different experience, and I appreciate it. And I think it does. Dallas is changing, demographics are changing, and from what I see, there might be a tiny bit of a glitch here and there, and I understand that, but for the most part, I think it's extremely fair. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Edward Turner. Mr. Edward Turner. That is I thought Joseph Amison was not speaking or is speaking. Either of those gentlemen here, Joseph Amison or Jeff Turner. I'm sorry, Edward Turner. Sorry, too many Turners. Edward Turner. No, okay. Ms. Elaine Lance.
morning, Commissioners. Good morning. My name is Elaine Lance, and I live at 818 Elsbeth Street, Dallas, Texas, 75208, Commissioner Garcia's district. I want to thank you all for the work you have done on this redistricting process. And I feel like you have drawn a map that accurately reflects the changing demographics of Dallas County. And I can remember a time, and it's probably not too long ago, that Commissioner Price was the only Democrat on the Commissioner's Court for a long time. And throughout the years, the demographics have changed to where the county has been becoming more and more Democrat. So I am, I am pleased that you have taken that into consideration and redrawn a map that really reflects the true demographics of the county. So thank you for your work.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Tracy Clinton.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Clinton. I live at 7055 Winchester Street, Dallas, 75231. I just wanted to make it brief because we haven't gone on a while, but I wanted to thank the court for the process. I was able to come to one of the hearings. There were a lot of competing interests, and I know not everybody came away fully satisfied, but looking at the maps and keeping track of the process by the website in just in ways that were not possible 10 years ago, I have to applaud the Commissioners Court for keeping neighborhoods together, particularly neighborhoods that came and addressed. You were all very fair to them, and I will have to agree to this. We might have to agree to disagree on whether the fairness could have helped things were done through the rules, Commissioner Dickey. But I do applaud you for looking for a resolution on changing voting dates if you feel like a certain amount of the district has been changed. Commissioner Cantrell, my mom is here today, first time to the Commissioner's Court. She's a little shy, but she wanted to welcome you. She is going to be in your newly revamped district, and she welcomes you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Omar Narvaez.
Hi there. My name is Omar Narvaez, and I reside at 9309 Lindbergh Drive in the heart of Lake Highlands. And I am in the current District 2 and have been mapped into the new District 2. And I'm going to be one of those folks that gets to vote again on time. And so I'm happy with this map. I don't see a problem with the numbers being moved. At the same time, I'm also the current president of Stonewall Democrats of Dallas. And I represent over 500 people that are members of my organization that are in the Oak Lawn area. We participated wholeheartedly in the redistricting process. I remember one Saturday morning, we gave up our Saturday morning. We woke up very early, we came here, we spoke to the court, and we were very happy with the changes that are on the map. And we thank the court for being fair about it, for listening to us so that our community has a voice and that our vote is no longer diluted between two very conservative districts. I personally am going to still live in a conservative district, and that's fine because Mr. Cantrell has been a good listener. We don't always agree, but he does at least listen and does what is necessary for the court and for the county. And for the rest of the commissioners and to the county judge, again, thank you so much. I applaud the effort. I know redistricting is hard. And I think that this court is being much more fair than unfortunately what's going on in Austin. I'm on the other side of this table in Austin, but at least at the county level in Dallas, we're following the demographics. We're looking at the opportunity districts for minorities, and we're making sure that everything is fair. And again, I applaud you and I thank you and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Diane Gibson. Oh, she can't. Our next speaker is Mr. David Delafonte.
Hello, my name is David Delafonte. I live at 1106 West Mount Avenue, Dallas, 75211. I live in the current District 4, and I will stay in District 4 after redistricting. I am an undergraduate student at Southern Methodist University, which is, of course, in District 1 as well. So I'm accustomed to all of the county and everything it has to offer. I'm speaking in favor of the redrawn maps that we see here, as well as the process itself. I think that when people criticize the process, which I do believe is fair, they're concerning themselves more with the political security of the Commissioners Court rather than the Commissioners Court's ability to serve Dallas County in the upcoming decade. I think the new map allows the Commissioners Court to serve the citizens of Dallas, which is the most important part of their job. Speaking as somebody who lived in a Commissioner's District and being from a community that didn't really have, I don't feel proper representation until this, after this election cycle. I feel that all communities in Dallas County will be properly represented by having majority seats for all three major ethnic groups, as well as one coalition district, the new District 1, I believe. And I feel that all the citizens of Dallas will be able to be properly represented by this new map. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Joe Estelle.
My name is Joe Estelle, and I live at 1300 Jackson Street. I live in South Lot 202 in Dallas. And I've, for the first time, actually gotten involved or participated in the redistricting process because many times before I haven't been a citizen of Dallas for such a long time, I just felt like the process was skewed, unfair, and didn't represent the populace of Dallas. And so now, with the map being the way it is, watching the change in the demographics of Dallas itself, and then seeing that having an opportunity to witness people, I believe, being fairly represented. And so I think it's just a big change, and I think it's just a great day for Dallas. So I want to show up and give my thanks because I know that it's a difficult thing to do. And so I find you guys taking the courage to go out and actually reflect the population of Dallas as they should. And I just want to give my support and say thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Elida Munoz.
Elida Munoz.
What she said. Sorry, Ms. Munoz. Senator West says I can just barely speak English, so Elida?
Elida Munoz. I live at 2405 Via Barcelona, Carrollton, 75006, and I have a statement here for la comisionada García. If I may, I'll say it in Spanish. Los gitanos estamos confundidos por si usted votó a favor del mapa de redistribución sin haberlo visto o revisado. ¿Acaso sabía usted de que los nuevos distritos no representan a los hispanos o a las oportunidades para nuestra comunidad? Pues están bajo representados en comparación a los otros distritos. El nuevo distrito 4 hispano está sobrepopulado y bajo representado en comparación a la ideal población de 592.035 por más de 22.000. Así como también el distrito hispano número 1, que está sobrepopulado y bajo representado por más de 10.000 de la población ideal. El distrito anglo número 2 está bajo populado y está sobre representado 13.000 más bajo que la población ideal. Y por último, el vecino distrito afroamericano número 3 está bajo populado y sobre representado por más de 19.000 sobre la población ideal. Consecuentemente, los dos nuevos precintos hispanos están sobrepopulados y bajo representados. Al combinarlos numéricamente, estos números añaden a 32.000 sobre la población ideal, en comparación a los otros dos precintos que tienen 32.000 de menos sobre la población ideal. Esta significante disparidad debe ser resuelta bajo el principio una persona, un voto, que bajo el acto de derechos a votar, Voters' Right Act, aspira a obtener. Como usted votó afirmativamente aprobar este mapa, propongo a nombre de los votantes hispanos de oportunidad hispana de los distritos 1 y 4 y en nombre de la justicia e igualdad que usted solicite la reconsideración de los comisionados de precintos de la Corte para que los hispanos de los distritos 1 y 4 obtengan representación adecuada en términos de población en comparación a los distritos anglos y afroamericanos. Gracias por su consideración.
Thank you, Mr. News, for your. Let me translate. No. Thank you, Mr. News, for your comments. Translation. Ms. News actually believes that the new District 4 and the new District 1, are overpopulated with Latinos and not fairly represented. And Ms. Munoz, I want to tell you for the record, and of course that I did not see the map and I voted in favor of it. But I want to assure you, that the numbers, included the Oakland area. Los números que incluyeron en el Distrito 1 y en el Distrito 4 es el resultado de la ecualización, the result of the equalization, and not only that, but also the input that we got in our third volunteer. La gente que vino y habló a favor de incluir Oakland en el nuevo distrito. Muchísimas gracias. So, you should do it. For the record, I would say that, do not approve. But it's the practice that is done.
Our next speaker is Ms. Nancy Hall.
Spanish Hall.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Hall, H-A-L-L. I live at 1431 Gardenside Drive. That's Dallas, Texas, 75217. Judge, commissioners, I come before you today as a concerned citizen of Dallas, a mother, and believe it or not, I'm a grandmother. So I do have a major concern in the future of Dallas. I want to come and tell you I support the maps. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming, in the words of my mother. I believe with the 2001 census that we do realize that demographics have changed with the population in Dallas. And I want to thank you above all for having some open minds. It's very refreshing. I want you to know I'm also an officer representing 5,000 members with the Communication Workers of America Union, and we know about fair representation. That's what we're about. So I am here today to say thank you. I appreciate your hard work, and we are here for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Bonnie Mathias.
Good morning. My name is Bonnie Mathias. I live at 904 Lufkin Street, 75217. I've been in the city of Dallas since 1983. I've lived in Pleasant Grove since 1987. I like it here, and I like what's happening on this court. I appreciate the moment to speak with you. The Democrats on the court could have drawn 4 Democratic districts in the style of the current Republican-controlled Texas legislature. The proposed map is fair to the citizens of the county. We did not hear this kind of rhetoric when Tom DeLay was gerrymandering the redistricting 10 years ago. In fact, Republicans were mostly silent. Work together, or the Judicial Department will do it for us.
Our next speaker is Mr. Russell Ransland. Mr. Russell Ransland. Gloria Wright.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. My name is Gloria Wright. I reside at 4625 Hazelhurst Lane, Dallas, Texas, 75227. We appreciate the map being on the Dallas County website so everyone could see it and comment accordingly. Even if they were unable to attend one of the several public redistricting hearings, thank the commissioners and all sorts of support for your effort. I am with the Communication Workers of America, whereas I'm on the Legislative Committee, and we just know that during this whole process, things was not easy in dealing with issues that is going forward. I personally commend you all. Thank you for your time and your effort.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Cindy Fitch.
Thank you for allowing me this opportunity, Judge, Commissioners. My name is Cindy Fitch, F-I-T-C-H. It rhymes with several words. I'm making address, P.O. Box 180328, Dallas 75218. I reside at 4811 Live Oak, 75202. I've come before y'all for my first time to let y'all know I appreciate the time and effort y'all have taken listening to the constituencies and drawing up a fair and equitable districts for everyone in the Dallas County, for both Democrats and Republicans. I know it's hard, and again, I've been involved in several different elections, and you cannot please everybody every time. I'm an elected chief steward with the Communication Workers of the Union, and I know how it is. Once you say something to one person, they like it, and the other ones call and complain. So I appreciate what y'all have done and the time y'all have taken.
And you do get it. Our next speaker is Mr. Herb Keener.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners Court. My name is Herb Keener. I reside at 8547 Stillwater Drive, 7543 in Dallas County. I am the Legislative Political Action Team Coordinator for the Communication Workers America 6215. And I want to thank the County Court for the hard work they have put in this redistricting matter. I know it was hard, but from what I've seen and what I've studied, it's very fair. It represents all my 3,200 members in Dallas County very well. And we're happy to see that going forward. Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Mr. Larry Wayner.
Spent 30 years with AT&T, so I'm on the other side of the aisle. I management do. I'd rather than CWA. Anyway,
everybody's got an opinion.
Judge James and Commissioners, I'm Larry Wayner. I reside at 6137 Soul Ross Lane in Dallas 75214. And during this campaign, the county judge provided hope for open and transparent government. That hope was translated into Court Order 2011-507, Dallas County Policy on Transparency, which is approved on March 15th, 2011. Section 1, introduction and purpose states that only an open, visible, and accessible government can endure and function appropriately. Without such characteristics, the public's confidence in government will wane, accountability will deteriorate, new ideas will cease to be exchanged, and the potential for poor decisions will increase. It's perhaps more important than ever that the county make its workings as transparent and accessible as possible. Accordingly, this policy shall govern and make more open the county's decision-making processes and provide the public with precedent-setting access. However well-intended, actions speak louder than words and good intentions. We do know that elections have consequences, but we did not realize these consequences meant such widespread and rapid loss of honesty and integrity of our county government. First, it was the forced retirement of extraordinary elections administrator.
Mr.
And now it's the approval.
Mr. Rayner, please sit down.
And it's approval of a
May I help Mr. Wayner back to his seat, please?
Okay, thank you. So that means nothing.
All right, help Mr. Wayner to the hallway. All right, and so our next speaker is Ms. Angie King. Ms. King, please come forward.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Angie King. I reside at 4050 McKinney, Dallas, Texas, 75204. And I want to come to court this morning to address the court on 2 points of concern that I have regarding the redistricting process and the transparency of that process that took place in the courts. I have been following this for the entire time of redistricting by this court and have attended redistricting hearings. And based on the map that was presented to the public at the time, we had opportunity to come and address the court at your 3 hearings, which have been previously stated, based on what we had seen at the time. Following what happened in court last week with the significant change, I believe that denied voters that live within those districts the opportunity to speak to the map that was then presented. 3 commissioners stated that they had not previously seen the map, but proceeded with the vote on the map regardless. My second point speaks to that as well, and I want to speak specifically to my precinct. My precinct was drawn into the new, what we now call District 1. Based on the previous map, which was presented to the public, did not have issue with representation of the way that the lines were redrawn. Based on the map that was presented in court last week, I want to go on record stating that I believe that my precincts, based on the demographics of it, our vote is therefore diluted based on the population of the now District 1. Certain communities of interest and certain individuals were provided the opportunity to speak on representation. They were heard by the court. So I am now taking that opportunity, that even though this is not a redistricting hearing, to be on record that I am against where my precinct was one of the 7 that were recorded earlier that were then drawn with these new lines. And I am against being drawn in based on demographics of my precinct and the voting strength of that, which I believe now will be a diluted vote. So thank you.
And ma'am, which precinct are you, and which, just so I know, which precinct are you?
I am in 1203.
1203, and 1203 is in precinct 1?
It is on the first map. It was in District 1, and now it is on precinct 1.
Blue or pink? Just
blue on the far map.
Blue on the far map. Okay, thank you.
Well, let me just be real quick for the record. Putting the map to the left was a map that we had laid out and was previously all along supported by the majority, 4 out of 5 members of this court. The only thing that's different, as I've stated earlier, is 15 out of 600 precincts on the map on the right, and the fact that under Tate versus El Paso, the numbers have changed. That's the difference.
And if I may make a comment, there were 2 things. You say the only thing is if it's trivial, but the 2 things that changed on this instantaneous map that was presented last week was that the districts were switched, 1 and 2 were switched with no prior knowledge or discussion of this court or the public. And number 2, some precincts were changed. Now, you can trivialize this and say, hey, there's 600 precincts and only 15 or whatever that number is were changed. But again, I make the point that whether it was 15 changed or 400 changed, there were precincts changed without public knowledge, without the knowledge of this court, And if you want to trivialize that, okay, but these are major changes that were made without my knowledge, without the knowledge of the public, and two commissioners stated publicly that they didn't know about these changes. Today we've heard a lot about people saying, it's about time, the demographics have changed, and this needed to be done. And I have no quarrel with that. This, in the last 10 years, this county has changed a lot. And it does need to be represented that those changes have made. The only issue that I take is that these changes were made not in an upfront way and not in a transparent way, in that the map was substituted at the last minute. I've heard many speakers say, thanks for the chance for the public hearing. They were nice public hearings for the most part. People got their thoughts out, even though some of those comments were certainly at my expense. But the issue that people need to realize is that those public hearings were about a map on the left, which is not the map we ended up voting on last week. The map on the right was a switcheroo any way you look at it.
Any other comments before I go to our last speaker? No, Quincy Davis is not here, correct? Assuming not. So Ms. Wally, will you come on up? Is that where you go?
Yeah.
Ms. Wally, how are you?
Thank you. I'm Elizabeth Wally. I reside at 1112 Seabold Court in Mesquite, 75150. And I just wanted to thank the court for the work done on redistricting. I've had a chance to look at the new map and compare it to the old map, the way things are currently. And I'm aware of the enormous demographic changes that have taken place in our county. I think the standard by which the map should be judged is how fairly the various population groups will be represented. That is, the neighborhoods and the racial composition within the maps. I've heard a lot of discussion today about the political parties' representation, but I think really what it's about is the population groups, the demographics and the racial makeup in the neighborhoods. That's what's important. And I think the new map reflects the changes very fairly, so far as I can see. There's one Anglo majority district, one African American majority district, one Hispanic majority district, and one Hispanic leaning, although it's not a majority district. And since nearly 40% of the county's population is now Hispanic, and the Hispanic population group is the fastest growing, then the breakdown of the new map seems very fair to me. Change is always hard. There are always going to be people who are happy with the status quo and would prefer to keep it. But the reality is, in this case, that there have been major changes in the county, and it's the job of the Commissioner's Court to see that all the population groups are treated fairly, and I think that's what's taking place here. In the past, my husband and I have been represented by Commissioner Cantrell, and in the future we'll be represented by Commissioner Price. And I want to thank Commissioner Cantrell for all the work on our behalf in the past. A couple of years ago, we had an issue that we were concerned about in our district, and I contacted your office, and you were responsive, and I felt in the end that the matter was handled fairly, and I was comfortable with the outcome. And I'm also looking forward to representation now with Commissioner Price, because as the commissioner having the most tenure on the whole Commissioner's Court, I can't help but think that our district will benefit from all that experience. So thank you very much for letting me come to speak today.
Thank you. I start to say, once you've had the best. Any further comments from our members on this program? Yes, please, ma'am.
First of all, I want to thank to all the people who came and spoke today, particularly to those who was the first time. I know and I appreciate you coming and saying what is important for the democratic process of the United States. Nobody will be here without you. I know we represent you, we work for you, and we're ready to, move forward on what is a very difficult process, a redistricting process. As someone who had the first experience at the Dallas City Council with the redistricting process, I do have to say that I found the commissioner's report were refreshing and more importantly open. So some of the comments that I hear throughout our speakers was, some are really happy and some are not. Now, for some of you that believe that there was lack of transparency, you have the two maps. There was the notion that, I voted for a map that I hadn't seen. And if you look at those two maps, the only thing that changed was, like Commissioner Price just mentioned, the inclusion of Oakland, which a lot of the people from Oakland were here in our last public hearing asking specifically for that change. It didn't take long during our last session to see that that was the change that you asked for. So, and that's what I decided to support the map. I mean, as far as the numbers, there was a minimum change. We still continue to be an opportunity district. That was something that I was very pleased during the criteria development to have. I mean, I'm very confident that transparency was there, through all the public hearings. And by changing the district numbers, I do believe that the residents of the new district will have the opportunity to choose a commissioner in 2012, and by designating, the Republican leading district as number 2, will give the opportunity to Commissioner Cantrell not only to get to know more of his constituency, but also, to continue to have a Republican voice in this court. I also very pleased with the fact that this map does not overreaches, does not retrogress. I'm very comfortable that it will be clear, and the voice of Dallas County has been here. With that, Josh, I want to thank all of you again for being here, for taking the time to be part of what is government in action, and to my colleagues. I know that, as always, someone is not very happy in this process, but compared to, as many of you mentioned, what's going on in the state, this has been moving progress, and I feel comfortable with the changes that we have now. So, thank you. Thank you.
Judge, if I may make a comment, I do appreciate also all the people that showed up today on both sides of the issue. As I stated before, the Democrats have changed and needed to be changed. Commissioner Garcia, who I have a very high regard for, made the comment that the only change had been the addition of precincts in Oklahoma. I just want to remind you that that was not the only change. Not only were the districts switched, what had happened before, but the net result of that was that the voting cycle was changed, so that the people of the new District 1, who should be able to vote in 12, which I might add is a presidential election here, and that always brings out more voters, but those people will not have an opportunity to vote for their representation for 2 more years. So there will be 2 years there where their representative has been appointed for them, so to speak, by the court. And for people who pay some of the highest property taxes in Dallas, that could be called taxation without representation. Now, this is not to personalize about a person. Certainly, anyone can run, but to change the election cycle is and not to give people a chance to vote in 2012 as they had expected to do, because commissioners vote every 4 years. To change that election cycle to 2014 is somewhat arrogant by this court. Because this court should not have the right to appoint the representation for the conservative voters in that new District 1. And, or is it new District 2? It was switched. But the voters should not have their representation appointed. They need to vote on the regular voting cycle 2012.
The court did not overreach in terms of political or ethnic racial considerations. As I said, continues with what did happen, and there were 15 precincts that were changed. The only difference between the map on the right and the map on the left, and the numbers were switched. I don't want to comment about the little bit program involved that my colleague talked about, because since I'm about to, I'm going to let that go. But what's going on in Austin? We got 4 new congressional districts in the state of Texas. Dallas-Fort Worth is the fastest growing region in this nation. And as, again, Congressman Burgess talks about redistricting, it's interesting that that fastest growing population, being Hispanic, will not get representation in this particular area. I just find it to be fairly disingenuous that for the last 20 years, there was no problem going forward. And now all of a sudden, there seems to be an issue. And all I'm saying is that the framework has been set. As I said, one member of this court has basically supported the map on the left. The numbers did change. And therefore, we gave the people of the new District 1 an opportunity, since the current District 1 representative has announced that they were not going to run for re-election. We gave them a chance to have someone represent them on this court.
Judge, if I may say, one of the ways that people argue is to take our local argument and globalize it. Now, I wasn't around 20 years ago, so I can't speak to that. And I haven't served in Austin. I have nothing to do with that service. We're talking about Dallas, Texas, what happened last week. And we're not complaining about demographics changing. That's a fact. We're talking about the process. The process was violated. Don't let any trivialization as far as personalities, any trivialization as far as, well, there were only a small amount of districts changed without our knowledge. Don't let any trivialization as far as, well, 20 years ago, you didn't care. I don't know where I was 20 years ago, but I wasn't in this court. And don't let any trivialization about, well, it's happening in Austin, so therefore, they're not being fair to us there, so we don't be fair to them here. Now, we're talking, don't lose focus, we're talking about a process that was violated about Dallas, Texas redistricting last week. That's what it's about. Let's not lose our focus on the issue. Thank you.
The only thing to be concerned about the people of North Dallas being disenfranchised. This county is, by the way, the number one beneficiary of tax exemptions and freezes are in that area as well.
There we go.
That's right, tax exemptions and freezes, beneficiary. So anyway, it's interesting when we talk about those being disenfranchised. More than 60% of this county has been realigned in this redistricting process. Not just North Dallas, 60%. Even though the last young lady that spoke talked about Mesquite, Summerville, Duncanville, Cedarville, parts of Dallas, the same as happened all over this city, all over this county. So there's nothing new there.
Mr. Price, are you saying that because the people of North Dallas pay a lot of taxes that they shouldn't care that they're disenfranchised?
No, that wasn't what I said at all. I said that they are the beneficiary of everything from tax freezes, tax exemption, and you continue to talk about them being the only so-called disenfranchised. And 60% of this county has been realigned.
Well, does that, and that's, I agree, this county's demographics have changed. Does that justify these people not being able to elect their own representative for 2 years later than they should have been able to elect their representative?
Let me just ask, are they the only ones? That's what I continue to say. Let me make it real clear.
So if it's
Are
wrong
they
with
the
just
only-
them,
Beg
but
your pardon?
if it's not wrong with the others, but it's okay to be wrong to one district because the others are taken care of? Hey, it's the first time I've had you breathless.
Well, I'll close up for us by saying, we've got one Republican on this court who's announced for reelection, and that one Republican has a district to run from. Having said that, as a Democrat, I think it's safe from a political standpoint that I can speak for the majority. I don't care who the Republicans pick in their primary in 2014 in District 1. We'll work with whoever you send us. District 2, beg your pardon. I do care very much that the people in the new Democratic Opportunity District have an opportunity to select their representative as soon as possible. If they were not allowed an opportunity to select their representative, it would fall on me to one person to use one vote and pick someone for that unexpired term or until a special election could be called. I think I'm an okay guy that can do a pretty good job of that selection, but I think democracy works better when people are allowed to vote. And so I was proud to vote for the plan that we voted for. I think what you're seeing is the people on this side of the dais are very happy with the plan. The people on this side of the dais are equally unhappy with the plan. Some of you are unhappy with the plan and feel like there wasn't transparency. Some of you are happy with the transparency in the plan. I understand that. I respect the viewpoints of all of you. But let's realize that this afternoon we're dealing with our budget. So far this year we've cut $30,272,201 from what it cost last year, from last year's budget. That's great, but we've got another $6 or $7 million to go, depending on what happens down in Austin. We've got very serious issues that we have to attack on a bipartisan basis. We talked earlier about transportation. By working together in a bipartisan basis, at least since I've been here, we've been able to, in the last month, get $606 million of transportation money for Dallas County out of the $856 million that is coming to all of North Texas. So we've got to continue to work together. We've got to put behind us these disagreements and this partisan wrangling and move forward to the important issues that the people of Dallas County elected all of us to handle, and I look forward to working with both the Democrats and the Republicans to handle. And I thank all of you for your comments today. That being said, the court is now reconvened in public session and will recess for its closed session as authorized by 551 of the Texas Government Code, as previously posted. Any action as a result of the closed session will take place in the previous open session. Court's adjourned.